This is the Radio Button Network. And this is the new Ace at Large podcast. Now, your host, Ace.
I get it. If anybody understands, I do. You're down. Almost out. Down, but almost out. Keyword there being almost. There are two things you can never do. You can never give up, and you can never, ever stop believing in magic. Not magic like David Copperfield or David Blaine. Magic that you find in moments. Moments when, because you didn't give up, because you didn't lose faith, lightning strikes. Or maybe something simple happened that serves as a reminder that you can do it, that it will get better, that every day gets you a little bit closer to a better place. I'm living proof that there is magic all around you. You've just got to believe and prepare yourself for it. Two things today are very true. Number one, because you're here, you're not alone. Number two, I believe in the magic of a moment with all my heart. And today, I'm going to make you believe, because it doesn't just happen. You've got to be ready. So let's get ready together. Next.
There's more of the new Ace at Large podcast next. Welcome back to the new Ace at Large podcast.
Okay, first and foremost, a little bit of a reminder. You are not alone. No matter what you are experiencing, whatever you might be feeling, the thing you should remember most today is that you are not alone. You're not alone because you're here. And that means that today is no excuse for giving up. If you've ever listened to the old Ace at Large podcast or heard me share stories on the radio, you know that I can be classified as what some might consider a sentimental old fool. It's one of the reasons I love sports so much, is that sports provides us with moments of magic, these magical moments fully on display. Now, to be fair, someone's magic in that setting also often happens to be someone else's demise. It has to be someone else's demise. But it's proof that magic only happens if you are prepared for it and open for it and put yourself in a winning position, so to speak. Magic can come in many forms in everyday life. A new job, a new relationship, a chance meeting that changes your life for the better, or a chance meeting that gives you the strength to overcome adversity. It's there, but first and foremost, you have to be open to it. I'll go back a little bit when it comes to my conversation about magic, or I could call them blessings. But 6 years ago, my world was pretty much in free fall. I was secretly living alone. The only people that knew I was living outside of my house were my kids and TJ and my ex-wife, obviously. But my family didn't know in Louisiana. Nobody had any idea. None of my other friends knew. Nobody had any idea what was happening. I was close to rock bottom. And quite honestly, I was heading down a slippery slope because I had not yet hit rock bottom when it came to how I felt about my personal life. And I came into work every day. I was dejected. I was frustrated. I just was reeling from how my life was falling apart. Felt like I was fighting like hell and just about ready to give up on being happy. I decided, here's what I need to do in life. I'm not going to be happy, so let's just be successful at work. I'll be the best dad I can be to my kids. I'll put on a good face for them, and I'll get through life, all while trying to figure out what was happening to me, what my life was becoming, where it was headed, what it was going to be. All of those thoughts every single day. Some days I slept, some days I didn't. Some days were good. Well, no days were good. Some days were better than others. 6 years later, I sit here talking to you, a newly married man with a new lease on life and a full belief that I can be happy. I am happy. All because of one magical meeting. And like I said, I use the term magic in lieu of the term blessings because I believe they're blessings. I believe they're God-given blessings that we have to open ourselves up to and be prepared for. I am very blessed in life in many ways. And I firmly believe that meeting Amanda was meant to happen to me, for me, and she was meant to encounter me at the time she did in life. I tried not to let it happen. But eventually I realized that this person makes me happy, and that's okay. Now, to be fair, a lot of therapy helped me come to that realization. I spent a lot of time feeling guilty for being happy. Again, therapy has helped with that. I say helps because I still feel that way sometimes. Sometimes I feel guilty for the success that I've had in life when it hasn't come to others close to me. I feel guilty when I see them struggle, but I always try to help them. These are things that I go through on a daily basis, and I'm not saying I'm a martyr or anything like that. I'm just sharing with you that we probably share some of the same thoughts and feelings. But here I am now, 52 years old, married, and really just now trying to learn how to be happy. I'm not really good at being happy. It's a skill that I don't have. I mean, I'm happy at things. I enjoy things. But I've always looked to the future and always thought, how could we make this better? What could use improving? A lot of times when I talk about being happy, though, I'm just talking about little moments that you can pull from in life that could change things. Ace and TJ's Grin Kids. There's magic in Ace and TJ's Grin Kids every single year. This is the week that we would have gone on Ace and TJ's Grin Kids trip. Grin Kids trip 2021 was scheduled for this week. It would have been our 21st consecutive year of going to Disney World with kids who are terminally ill and chronically disabled. A charity born out of us walking into our marketing director's office at the time. Her name was Diana Addis. And we said, hey, we're going to start a charity, and we're going to make it for kids who are terminally ill and chronically disabled. And okay, let's make that happen. We're going to figure it out together. And she later became the first administrator of Ace and TJ's Grin Kids and was very instrumental in us getting Grin Kids off the ground. And it's become something beyond what we ever could have hoped it would be. Hundreds of thousands of dollars it costs every year to pull the trip off. As a radio show, we've raised over $12 million for charity through the years. Something we are extremely proud of. Yet, every year, it takes that magical moment, those 2 or 3 magical moments, to remind us why it is we do Ace and TJ's Grin Kids. And they're things that we can't make happen. They just happen. They happen, though, because we work hard at preparing. We have very smart people that run Ace and TJ's Grin Kids. And we try to just put people in a situation where their heart is open and we offer them as wonderful an experience as possible. And then things like this happen. A couple of years ago, the very first morning, we flew down to Disney World. We go to get on the bus. And we have 3 large buses that everybody is on. And as TJ and I went to step on the first bus to say hello to everybody that morning, one of the Grin Kids moms is sitting in the front row, and she's crying. And as co-presidents of a charity at 8 o'clock in the morning, if somebody's crying, kind of instantly you always think, what's gone wrong? What has already gone wrong at 8 o'clock this morning at Disney World? And we ask her, what's wrong? And she proceeded to tell us how her daughter, at the age of 5, spends every day in school sitting across the desk from a teacher, and the teacher will roll a crayon to her daughter. And her daughter, what they want her to do is stop it with her hand and roll it back. It's a simple skill. Never happens. Try it. Some days she kind of struggles with it. Some days she doesn't even bother making the effort. Yet, just a few moments before we boarded that bus, while standing at the All-Star Resort in the gift shop, the lady's husband, the girl's father, was holding their daughter. and her head was resting on the dad's shoulder, and mom picks up a Minnie Mouse and kind of waves it in the air at her. And their daughter, for the first time in her life, at the age of 5, reached for something that she wanted. They try to get her to do it every single day. Yet at Disney World, it happened. Then, to go one step further, mom got so excited when she reached for it. And their daughter then, for the first time ever, took both of her arms and reached out, asking her mother for a hug. Now, if you have children, you know that one of the great joys in life is when they come to you looking for a hug, looking to be comforted. That's a warmth that you can't imagine unless you've experienced that feeling. 5 years old, had never happened before to them ever. And in that moment, not only had she accomplished the skill, but she had also done something that no one even thought she probably would ever do. And it was a lot, obviously, for the family to handle. It turns out they weren't sad tears at all. They were unbelievably happy tears. That's what we call grandkids magic. It happens every year. That's why they call it the Magic Kingdom. It's the most magical place on earth. Those are the types of things you got to keep yourself open to in life. And I completely understand it's a lot, whether it's a physical issue. And I know I've been very blessed in life from a physical standpoint that I'm relatively healthy, but the things that come at me in life seems to come in waves, or like bad news things from time to time that seem to be a lot. And obviously, you know that this podcast changed a great deal and has come back as what it is because of the death of my daughter. But it doesn't mean you can't close yourself off to the world. Because I believe, and this is just one man's opinion, I believe without that magic, without that belief that good things can happen to you, good things won't happen to you. And a lot of times the magic comes in just little moments that are a celebration of an accomplishment. I'll give you an example. When I was a kid, my parents divorced. My mom was a school teacher, and she decided, I've got to get my master's degree so I can make more money. And she was a first grade teacher. Great first grade teacher. And so my mom set out to earn her master's degree. And my mom's a very intelligent lady, but single parent, 2 kids. I think I was 10. My sister was 5 when my parents split up. So I was in the 6th grade when this whole thing started. I was 12 years old when this kind of began. My mom on this trek to work on her master's, around there, late 11, early 12. And it was a 2-year program that my mom was in. And many times I spent my Saturdays in the library at Northwestern State University. Remember, this was early 80s, 80, 81. And, computers weren't a thing. You had to go to the library and microfilm and search out books. And I would find stuff for my mom as she worked on her thesis, or she would have class during the week. And the class was in Natchitoches, Louisiana. And that was an hour away from where we lived. Northwestern University, where she went to school, was an hour away from us. And we had to drive up there. And so we would have, fast food on a Tuesday night. And while my mom was in class for 2 hours, I would sit outside and watch my sister and make sure she did whatever she had to get done and get my homework done and all these kinds of things. And even down to the very day when mom achieved her goal, and my mom's very smart. She made straight A's all the way through working on her master's degree, all the way through graduate school. And we got down to the day to drive to Northwestern for the graduation ceremonies, and her car broke down on the way up there that day. Kid you not. We were stranded on the side of the road for a while. Luckily got it all worked out. Barely got there when she needed to be there. And during the graduation ceremony, there was just me and my sister sitting up in the crowd. And they call my mom's name. And as she walks across the stage, we just shouted out, "Yay, Mom!" My mom is 78 years old. She has Alzheimer's. And she's fighting like hell with Alzheimer's. But if you ask her today, she'll tell you there was magic in just that little moment. Because in that, the three people that hung together, the two people she did it for, actually the three, because she did it for herself as well. That was a little bit of acknowledgement from those three people, that little tight group, me, my sister, and my mom. We had done this together. That was a really special moment for all of us. Nothing major, nothing earth-shattering, nothing life-changing. But it was a bond that was cemented that day that'll never be broken, and that was really special. There's magic in all kinds of places. I've said this many times. I just said this the other day to Amanda. I love watching old people, old couples dance together. There is magic in watching old people dance together, because here's what we know. They've been together a long time. Here's what we don't know. What they've been through. If you've been married for a while, or you've been with someone for a while, especially been married for a long time, you know that I don't know anybody who's ever been married, even people who have the best marriages, who haven't been through really tough times together. So when you watch, or when I watch old people dance, you know they've been through some stuff, and they believe in the magic of the moment that they met and fell in love, because they're celebrating that out there. If they didn't, they would have given up a long time ago. That's a simple thing. You see it all the time. But you can find some magic in that moment. You see the blessing that is their marriage. And you know, in your heart of hearts, without knowing anything about them, you know those two old people have been through a lot of stuff together. And I love that. I love, my dad died 9 years ago this month. Sunday, the 24th, will be 9 years to the day that he died. And 9 years ago, my son was 9 years old. And we were going to Louisiana for Christmas. And my son had gotten a go-kart right before that. For his birthday, I believe, we bought him a go-kart. And he loved this go-kart. And I grew up going to the races with my dad. I spent many weekends at the drag strip with my dad. And my dad loved cars, and I had go-karts, and I had three-wheelers, and I had all these things, and it was a common bond that we shared. And so it was a big thing for me. Come hell or high water, I'm getting that go-kart to Louisiana so my dad can see my son, his grandson, ride in that go-kart. Because I didn't know when he was going to come back and see us again. Because he's had some health issues, but I didn't, by no means did I have any idea that he was about to die just a few weeks later, a month later almost. So I clearly remember my son and I went over, we picked up my dad, and we went to the parking lot of the Rapides Parish Coliseum. It was the only place we could really find that was a big open parking lot where nobody was around. And I had bought my son this very nice Simpson race helmet that was too big for him, but God, he loved it. Full front face, you could flip the lid down, and he loved it. He would wear it just around the house, sitting there watching TV. And we took him out and fired it up, and he took off. And my dad was talking to him about try this and try that, and he'd try stuff, and just I got to stand back and watch. And while we're standing there, my dad watches my son go by, and he just reaches over and puts his hand on my shoulder, and he squeezes. I didn't even look at him. Didn't bother to glance. I knew, I was thankful he was experiencing exactly what I wanted him to experience in that moment. Those things are special. And those things happen all the time around us. It's so many weird ways that little magic moments happen. But I share these examples because it's everywhere. It's everywhere. We talk about coming here because when you come here, you're not alone. We just have to have faith. We just have to never give up. As my mom always said, one foot in front of the other. Eventually you get somewhere. And quite honestly, this won't be for everybody. But I'm a believer in life that you take big swings. You take big ass swings. I am swinging for the fences every day. It's one of my problems in life because I have a hard time seeing, a lot of times I look at what I'm not, what I feel I should be, as opposed to what I am. Not that I'm not appreciative. I just feel as if I haven't done all the things I should have done in life. You be smart, but when you get the chance, take the big swing. It's not chance. It's putting yourself where you need to be for the magic to happen. It's giving yourself the opportunity. It's keeping yourself open and prepared for when the magic comes. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. You meet someone who changes your life. Chance? Or are you there because you put yourself in the right position by making the right decision? And if you say, well, you're on the radio and you've had some success and you're one of the 25, you're one half of, one of the 25 most influential morning radio shows of the past 25 years. I mean, all true. Every bit of that's true. I'm pretty great. I'm pretty magnificent at what I do. But that's not an excuse. It happens to I'm kidding. It happens to everybody all the time. It happens to people that I know. Why can't it happen to you? That's totally up to you. First off, no excuses. We can't make any excuses. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. That's okay. But at least you go down swinging. It just made me think, when my son was little, 7, 8 years old, I coached his baseball team. And these are such silly little things in life that really don't mean a lot, but they mean a lot to you if you've ever experienced something like this. And my son, left-handed, I was the first base coach. We'd worked constantly on the fact that he was pulling his front leg. If you're a baseball player, you know what I'm talking about. He was stepping out of the box when he would swing, head down the first baseline, all out of whack. When he stayed in, stepped straight toward the pitcher, his swing was a thing of beauty. And we end up in this baseball game that doesn't mean anything. It wasn't for the championship. It wasn't any of that kind of stuff. And he comes up to bat with 2 outs, man on second and third. And as he walks out of the dugout, my son is the epitome of I couldn't care less cool all the time. Like, just chill, totally chill, even when he was little. And I said, hey, look at me. And he looks at me, I said, hey, I forgot how I used to phrase it. It was like, straight step. We need this. Yes, sir. I could have said, hey, you're a moron. And he would have responded with, yes, sir. Or, hey, I'm the greatest dad ever. Yes, sir. He just wanted me to stop talking, and he was going to go back. And he steps into bat, and his first 2 swings were he was so jacked up. Foot out, head spinning, looked horrible. And I finally yelled at him. I was like, Cade, look at me. And he looked at me. And I made a motion like head down, straight at the pitcher. And he nods, like he's done a million times. And then, because we'd worked on it so many times, and because I was relentless in making sure he understood this, the very next pitch, right down the middle, and if you had been videoing his stride toward the pitcher and the way he transferred his weight and he swung, it was one of the most beautiful things you could ever hope for. And he blasted a ball right back up the middle of the field into the outfield. and I'm coaching first base, and he's tearing down the first baseline. And it's all I can do to not cuss because I am screaming at him, Rod, 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 Rod. And he rounds first and goes to second. And he hits second base. And as he touches second base safely, I look back, and the kid that was on second scored, and the game is over. We won the game. And the magic in that moment was the look on his face when they called ball game, and I pointed at him, and he started sprinting right at me. Throws off his helmet. So excited. Just that look in that moment, that feeling of accomplishment that he had. I will never forget that as long as I live. Ever. He didn't grow up to be a professional baseball player. He quit baseball a few years later because it bored him, which broke my heart because I really thought he could have been good. He still enjoys get out in the backyard, we throw the ball, have a great time. He'll never be a professional athlete, but that's okay because that's a moment that means nothing to anyone. It will not affect his life in any way, shape, or form in the future. But for me, that's a magical moment that I will never forget. I know a lady who was divorced and swore she would never be in love again and had gone years. Never be in love again. Doesn't want to be. Don't want to mess with anybody. Don't want the hassle. And then she ran into an old friend from high school who was also divorced. Chance meeting in a store. Aren't you one of those things? And now she's happier than she has ever been in her life because of the blessing of meeting this man that she knew from many years ago, that she had not seen in forever. Magic happens in many ways. Blessings happen in many ways. Some you prepare for, some you can't. But you got to believe. You got to believe that it can happen, or else there's nothing else to do. And you can say what you want. You can say you're a silly old guy, you're a romantic at heart in a literary sense. All true. I'm a sentimental old fool. And I remember these types of things because they mean a lot to me. But I hope somehow this means a lot to you. The idea that it can happen. Anything can happen. You never know. You just got to keep working. You just got to put one foot in front of the other. You just got to be prepared every single day for something great to happen to you. And believe that it can. And that's the key to everything. You always got to believe that something good can happen to you. And never give up. So why would this week, this message to you from me be so important? Which is a magical little story all its own. And the power of, why can't we? Next.
There's more of the new Ace at Large podcast next. Welcome back to the new Ace at Large podcast.
All right, so we've established the fact that you're here, and that means you're not alone. And that you're going to believe that good things can happen to you. They're not always going to happen to you, but you got to believe it. You got to believe that you're moving in a positive direction. And you got to be smart, and you got to keep yourself moving forward every day. One foot in front of the other, one foot in front of the other. Eventually you get somewhere. So why would this message be so important to me to share with you? That's because I remember this week every year, and it just so happens that, there are anniversaries that fall that are important. 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. Those fives seem to be a big thing, and I don't know how he came about that. I don't know why 5 years is special, but everybody's like, oh, it's the 7th anniversary. Nobody thinks anything about it. But, 10's a huge deal. They're all big. So this week, I have a rather unique one, and I get it. I know this type of thing doesn't happen to everybody, but we all have our own unique, cool things that have happened in life. And here's mine. It was, if you've seen my Instagram or my Facebook page, it was 15 years ago this week that my band, Charity Case, which started to raise money for Ace and TJ's Grin Kids, which started as a bit on the radio just for fun, opened for Rock and Roll Hall of Famers and one of the biggest bands of their generation, Bon Jovi, in front of a sold-out crowd of 15,463 at what was then called the Time Warner Cable Arena, is now called the Spectrum Center in Charlotte, North Carolina. And it is like nothing. I could tell this story in detail till the day I die, and it will be fresh and new every single time, because there is no way I can ever express to someone just how effing cool that day and night was. It was magic from the beginning to the end. And for 32 minutes exactly, I was the king of the world. I wasn't the headliner that night, but I damn sure was the king of the world. I was the toast of the town, and there was nobody on God's green earth that in that night could have touched me or my bandmates or our crew, because we tore the house down and had a great, great time. And we ended up there, yes, partly because I'm on the radio. And yes, Bon Jovi was doing contests around the country to have radio contests open. And I found out about it and I made a phone call. Okay, whatever. Turns out I happen to know the head of the record label. I knew him from when I worked with him years before in Alexandria, Louisiana. But the bottom line was the band had to be good. And they messaged back and said, hey, the band's not a problem. Let's do this. It's for charity. It's a great thing. This will be an awesome night. And all of that happened, whether it was the over $1.4 million that Charity Case has made, whether it was opening for Bon Jovi, whether it's all the other people we've played with and opened for, from Bret Michaels to Joan Jett and the Blackhearts to No Doubt to Run DMC to whoever else we've played with. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. All happened because I had an idea on the radio, which led me to a chance meeting with a guy named Eddie Z, who ran a rehearsal facility called the Playroom and still does. And Eddie had just had a son, and I told him what we were doing, that we have this event for Grin Kids every year called Second Chance Prom. It's 6 months away, and I'm going to try to put this band together as a bit on the radio, and we're going to premiere a band at Second Chance Prom. And he said, tell me about your charity. And I told him more. And he said, I just had a son. I'd like to do something to really be a part of this. And he watched our first rehearsal. And he came in, and his very honest New York way said, this is a disaster. But if you'd like my help, I'll be glad to help you. Because he said, something about you and this story makes me want to be a part of this and help you. And now, literally 20 years later, here we are. My song that came out this week, my song that I wrote for Amanda that was played at our wedding, that was our first dance song. Written with Eddie Z, produced by Eddie Z. Eddie Z is one of the musicians on it. He put all the music together. And it was Eddie Z that taught me these three words. Why can't we? Because I was the guy that didn't know anything about music or anything about anything, and I would talk about things and just say, and it would be cool. It'd be awesome if we could, have fireworks at our show. And Eddie would say, why can't we? I don't know. I don't know where to get fireworks. I don't know how that works. I don't know. Just seems like it's a lot. He's like, it's not. You order them out of a book. Okay. And next thing you know, we had fireworks. Not everybody was thrilled with the fireworks, but we were, because they were amazing. And it was Eddie that said, why can't we make this into something and play around town and give all the money to charity? And eventually, I came around to why can't we? Why can't we? There's power in those. Why can't we? There's a lot of power and there's a lot of magic in those three words. Why can't we? I don't know. Because I just don't think that I can. Why? I don't know. I don't think that I can. But you can. You probably can. If you prepare right, if you have smart people around you, if you do the things you need to do to get yourself in a position to be able to, you probably can. Whatever it might be. If not for that meeting with Eddie, there are countless moments in my life that I would never have experienced. Moments where I have looked up and said, what in the hell am I doing? How did I get here? What is happening to me right now? This is insane. Standing on stage in front of almost 16,000 people at a sold-out arena, and the sound they make when the lights go out, and the sound that they make when we hit the final song and it starts, and the sound that they make, and I've got a picture that I put on my Facebook page this week of those people, and you can see people standing in the audience, lots of them, standing and cheering. It gives me goosebumps to tell you about it now, and that would not have happened if I had not believed in the magic of the moment. And if I hadn't let Eddie convince me that there's power in those words, why can't we? Maybe there's some kind of magic that comes from you just hearing about this and deciding, you know what? Tomorrow is going to be a better day than today. If there is, that thrills me to no end. It's not going to be easy. Everybody's story is different. But if you give up believing, you're not even giving yourself a chance. And why would you not give yourself a chance? If you give up believing, you'll never, ever find it. Because you won't be ready, and you won't be looking, and you won't even believe that you deserve it. You can't go through life waiting on it. You got to be a realist. But you've also got to be open to the possibility. As TJ said many times, he grew up wanting to play center field for the Atlanta Braves. Realistically speaking, that's not going to happen. But lots of other things can. I hope that if this touches you in any way, has meant something to you in any way, that you'll leave us a positive review on this page about this podcast and help us share more with others. That's a secondary hope. My first hope is that something about this reinvigorated you today and makes you understand that first things first, you're not alone, never give up, and you just got to believe. Those three things are paramount to getting through whatever it is that you're going through today and tomorrow. Always remember, one day you will tell your story of how you've overcome what you're going through now, and it will become part of someone else's survival guide. There's a lot of magic in that.
This is the new Ace at Large podcast. The new Ace at Large podcast will be back next Thursday.